Hi everyone! So I was browsing on this website called Shein.com. I don't know if you say Shein or Shein, but it's basically like this very cheap China-based site that sells mostly fast fashion. And I was looking at their clothing. I've ordered from them before. I really like a lot of their stuff. I'm not one to spend a lot of money on clothes, so I don't mind stuff that, you know, I get rid of after a couple of wears, but they actually have some pretty good stuff. And I was looking through their makeup and accessories section, and I saw these brushes, and basically this is a brush set that costs $9 and you get 12 brushes. So I was like, hey, maybe I should do a video where I test out cheap brushes and do a full face of makeup and then see if they're worth it. So that's what we're going to do today. Obviously you can see I already have my makeup on. These brushes are dirty, so I've already done this. I'm just filming the intro because, you know, I look prettier with makeup on. So yeah, so there's that. So if you want to see how these brushes perform, then keep on watching. Okay, so here are the brushes. And as you can see, I haven't even opened them. I don't know what they're gonna feel like. The only thing I know is from looking at them inside of the plastic, they actually look kind of nice. So I think that we might be able to get a good look out of this. So let's just open them up and see what they look like. All right, so here they all are. And some of them I really like. They feel really soft. I feel like there might be a little bit of shedding though, but we'll see how they work. I mean, for $9, I think this is a pretty good deal, and I can see myself using a lot of these brushes in the future if they perform well. So I think we're just going to get started. I'm going to start off by priming, obviously, and I'm going to use my Farsali drops. And if my hands look kind of dead today, it's because I just washed my hair, just FYI. And my skin is having a week, I'm telling you. Like, I know I can thank my hormones for that, but I'm not happy about it. Because it is breaking out and I'm having like really painful bumps on my skin. And I don't like it. But that's what makeup is for, and that's why I like makeup, because I can just cover all this up and move on with my day. Okay, for my foundation today, I'm going to use the Cover FX Power Play foundation. Honestly, none of my foundations match me anymore because that tan that I used to have kind of went away because I haven't been outside because it's been like 110 every day. I'm going to use this brush. It's like a flat top kabuki kind of brush. It's kind of soft, like a little bit too soft for my liking, but we're going to try it anyway because it's really the only brush that I could see myself using foundation with. So I'm just popping some on my brush and I'm just going to go in like I usually would. And I can already tell that this brush is just too flimsy and soft for my liking for foundation, but we're gonna make it work. This brush is like way too soft for this. I'm not sure if this is meant to be used for foundation or if it's more of a stippling brush, but I mean, obviously they're so cheap that they're all probably made of the same material, so you can't really judge them too harshly. And I have found this foundation to be a little bit hard to apply, and I need to use like certain brushes with it to really make it look good, because it is more of a medium coverage foundation and it doesn't build as well as some other foundations that I have. Okay, I'm going to go in with this a little bit of a smaller, like flat fluffy brush that I wouldn't really want to use as a eye brush because I don't like the shape of it that much. It's a little too big for my eyes. So I'm just going to use this to kind of spot conceal a little bit with my foundation and just build up the coverage a little bit more right where I need it. Just so I can pack it on because the other brush wasn't really doing a good job. Okay, let's move on to concealer. I'm going to use my Tarte Shape Tape like I always do. And for this, I'm going to use this angled brush. It's really the only that I can find that I think I might be able to use for this. The other ones are just too small, so we're just going to try this. And I feel like this is more meant to be used as a blush brush or contour. But we're gonna try to blend this out. So my main problem with these brushes is that they're just like too soft. But I mean, I can see this brush not being meant for this purpose. And it's definitely too big to get under my eyes. So I'm like squeezing it to try to make this work and fit into where I need it to blend. getting the job done, so that's really all that matters. Would I reach for this again? Yes, probably, but for a different product. Like, I could see this being like a good like contour brush maybe, even though I don't really contour, but even for bronzer, I think this might be a good brush. And it's really amazing how having the right brushes will change your makeup application. Like, it'll just make it look so much more seamless and smooth. Next, I'm going to take my Cover FX powder. This one right here. This is in the shade Light. And I'm going to set my face. And I don't have a good brush for setting my under eyes. This is kind of hard. So I might just have to go in with the same brush that I just used for my concealer. And I was not able to blend in my concealer very well because it is creasing. So I'm going to try to just go in with the same brush. Yeah, this actually works pretty well for setting under eyes. Way better than blending out concealer, that's for sure. I'm going to pack that onto my nose because that's where I feel like foundation always rubs off. So I like to set this really good. And then I'm going to go in with, this is the biggest brush. And it's a little bit stiff. This is probably a much better brush for bronzer, but I'm going to use it to set my face because I don't have any other ones that would really work for this. And this works fine, it's just a little too dense for my liking. Like, I prefer like really big fluffy brushes for setting my face. Next, I'm going to prime my eyes, and I'm going to use my MAC paint pot. This is in the shade Soft Ochre. And let's see what brush I want to use for this. I'm going to go in with the same one that I used to put on more foundation with, just this little one. It's a little fluffy brush. I like this for my eye primer. And before this creases, I'm going to set it with my Urban Decay Naked Eyeshadow. And I'm just going to use a fluffy kind of angled brush because I don't really like these for eyeshadows that much. Only for certain purposes. The brushes are very soft though, so I'm actually excited to use sty brushes because I feel like they will be a lot better than the face brushes. Also, I'm very picky with what kind of brushes I use for my face. Like, I like them to be of a certain density and a certain shape depending on what product I'm using them for. Which is probably why I didn't like these brushes as much. Like, I've seen really expensive brushes that are very similar to the face brushes that I just used. They're just not my cup of tea. Alright, next, just to blend my powders in a little bit before I go into bronzer and stuff, I'm going to spritz a little bit of Fix Plus. And I'm just going to quickly do my brows because I'm not going to need a brush for that. I'm just going to use a pencil. Alright, brows are on, and I took my hair down because if you watch my other Get Ready With Me's, you know I don't like to wear my hair back because it's just a little bit of an insecurity of mine. So next up, we're going to bronze up the face, and I'm going to use the same brush that I used for my powder because I like big fluffy brushes, like not too big fluffy brushes for my bronzer. I just feel like this little one might be a little too small. So I'm going to go in with my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer because I know I like this. And I also know that this is the kind of bronzer that it's kind of tough to go overboard with, like you can build it up. And so I'm just going to go in kind of lightly to start off. And I kind of like this brush for this actually. I like this a lot more for bronzer than I did for powder. And I think I can see myself reaching for this again. I feel like if I can find like even just like 2 brushes that I like in this set that I'm going to use on a regular basis, that the set's going to be worth it. Because I have brushes that cost way more than $9 for one brush, and if I can get 12 brushes for $9, that's a pretty good deal. So the bronzer is applying actually really well with this brush, and I like it a lot. I'm not super happy with how my foundation is looking though, and I definitely know that that has a lot to do with the brush that I used. But we're just gonna have to deal with that today. I think I'm going to use the same brush for my blush, so I'm just going to wipe it off on my towel here. And for my blush today, I'm going to use the Hourglass Mood Exposure. Just looks like this. I love the Hourglass blushes. They're so easy to work with. They're not super pigmented to start off, but they build up really nicely, and I feel like they last well on my skin too, and I don't know, they just feel really soft and smooth, and there's nothing about these I don't like. I really would like all of them. I wish they weren't so expensive. And I like this brush for blush as well, although I do prefer my blush brushes to be just a tiny bit smaller. I'll show you the ones that I normally use. This is my Japanese brush, and so you can see they're like pretty differently shaped. This one is more of like a dome shape. It's very round and fluffy, whereas this one is more of a, I don't know if you can call it angled. I don't think it's supposed to be angled, but it is a little bit angled, and it's definitely like a lot bigger and also denser. So I mean, it definitely does the job, so I'm not hating it. It's just not my perfect blush brush. For highlight today, I want to use one that I haven't used in a while. I actually only used this once, I think. This is from Wet n Wild. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see what it says. This is the Mega Glow Highlighting Powder in Blossom Glow. And I actually do not have a highlighting brush, so I guess I'll be using this angled brush for my highlight today. That might be a little too big. Yeah, the other ones are just like way too small. So I guess we're gonna be glowing today. I'm just going to stamp this on a little bit. I don't want to go too overboard without knowing how much is going to apply. And I actually don't hate this. I kind of like this brush for highlight. And I didn't think I would. Yeah, this is kind of nice. Now the highlight, on the other hand, I'm not so sure, but I feel like it's one of those highlights that kind of turn a little bit gray on me, because it's just a bit too light. I find a lot of like super light pink highlighters do that. Like they look good from the side, but then when you turn your head around, they just turn gray, you know? Alright, I think that'll do. Man, it is so hot in here. Maybe because I just showered, but it's been freaking 105 to 10 degrees outside every single day lately, and I'm absolutely hating it. It's just so hot. Like, I love being outside and going for walks and stuff, and I just feel like I can't do any of that right now because it's so hot, and then I'm just stuck sitting on my ass every day, and it just makes me super restless, and I don't know what to do with myself. So I don't know what I want to do with my eye makeup today, but I do know that I want to use my Dragon Child palette by Makeup Monsters. And I want to use this in conjunction with a different palette today, which is something I haven't been able to really do yet because I've been doing like reviews on just one palette. So I think I want to start off by taking this green shade up here in my crease. And for that I'll be using the blending brush that comes with it. This is the kind of blending brush that I love, so I think I'm really going to like this. I like the shape of it, I like the density of it, and it seems really nice. So I'm just going to pop this in my crease, and I'll say this brush is a little bit too tapered for my liking. If it was a little more rounded on top, I think I'd like it more, but I don't hate it. It does blend out the shadow pretty nicely though, but that could also be just because these shadows are really good. I mean, you can tell that these are really cheap brushes because I can feel like hairs that are not in place where they should be. Like some of the hairs are like different lengths and stuff. I don't know if you can see it in the up close, but I can feel it on my eyes that some of them are kind of just like poking me. So I don't even think I would say that these are on par with like e.l.f. brushes, or definitely not Morphe brushes, because Morphe brushes are awesome. Like I can't really compare these brushes to anything else that I've ever used because they're just worse. So I'm just working on deepening up the outer corner a little bit now. And I'm still using the same shade. I'm just packing it on more densely. I'm going back to this little angled blush. Why do I say this every time? I'm going back with this little angled brush, and I'm going to use this with the same color to smoke up my lower lash line. And this is definitely a little bit too big for my liking to do this with. Going back in with that blending brush, I'm going to tap into Myth or Legend, which is this gorgeous blue shade up here, and I'm going to use that to deepen up the outer corners even a little bit more. Next, I'm tapping into this darkest blue down here, and I'm going to use one of the packing brushes that comes in the set. So I'm going to choose to go with this one. This is more of a, it's not as long because there's two of them and they're very similar, but I'm going to use this one first because I want to use the other one to try to do a cut crease, just to really put these to the test. But first I'm going to use this dark blue to deepen this up just a little bit more, right on the outer corner. I'm just going to pack this on and then I'm going to blend it out after. Going back in with my blending brush, and I'm going to tip back into that Myth or Legend color, top of my brush, and then just work on blending this all out. So to cut my crease, I'm going to use this other flat brush that I mentioned earlier, and I'll be using my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer to do so with. So I'm just going to do this really quick without really explaining anything because I have a lot of other videos where I've done this same technique. And this is really all about the brushes. And I can already tell I don't like this brush for this. It's just too big and it's too fluffy. I like brushes that are much denser to cut my crease with. Or just thinner, if you know what I mean, like flatter. Like this does the job, it's okay, but I probably wouldn't use this brush for this again. Okay, so before this dries, I'm going to go into my Natasha Denona Sunset palette, and I'm going to put this orange color all over my lid where I cut the crease. And I'll be using the same brush that I used to cut my crease with to apply this. And I will spray my brush because these tend to have a lot of fallout. It's pretty tough to get a precise application with this. Next, I'm going back in with my fluffy brush again, and I'm going to dip into that dark blue and just put a little bit more on that on the outer corner to blend these two colors together. Now I'm just going to slowly blend out everything out here. And for my inner corner, I'm going to go in with this white from the Natasha Denona palette as well. And I'll be using this little pencil brush, which is very, very stiff. And I think it might be a little too stiff, but we're gonna try it anyway. And like, it works, but I'm really not a fan of this brush. Like, I can see this being really good for like, enhancing the line here where I cut my crease. Like that would be something I would use this for, but that would probably be the only time I would ever reach for this. For my waterline, I'm going to go in with Teaspoon from Colourpop. This is just a green pencil. I love this. And I'm going to go put on some liner and mascara and lipstick, and then we will conclude this video because I don't think I have any more brushes left to use. So yeah, let me do that real quick and I'll be right back. Alright, all done up. For lips, I used Jeffree Star Pumpkin Pie, and I topped it with my Clinique gloss in Sorbet Pop. It looks like this. And let's sum this up. So I used 9 out of the 12 brushes. The ones I didn't use were these ones. So this is just like a small angled like liner brush. You could use it for brows probably. Then we have another one that's just a pencil brush, but it's a little bit longer than the other one that I used in my inner corner. I wouldn't really know what to use this with because it's too dense. Like you can't really blend anything out with it. It's tough to do any detail work because it's too big. And the other brush that I didn't use is this flat. It's probably a concealer brush. I don't really like using these kind of brushes for a concealer, but I probably should have tried it since the other one that I used wasn't really good. For the brushes that I did use, let's see, which ones did I like? I like the big fluffy brush. This one was good. I liked it for blush and bronzer, mostly for bronzer, so I will probably continue to reach for that again. The angled brush, I kind of like this for highlighter actually. It was kind of good for that. I could also see it if I ever wanted to contour, I would definitely reach for this brush because I don't really have any other brushes that are like this. The foundation brush wasn't stiff enough for me. It was just too soft, too flimsy. It took too long to blend out my foundation with. I did not like that, would not recommend. This little fluffy brush that I used for blending out concealer and foundation in certain spots, that one was pretty good. I didn't mind that one. Oh, I also used it to set my eye primer, and I liked it for that, so I could see myself reaching for that one again. So this little crease brush that I used for my crease to blend out my shadows, this one was pretty good. Didn't hate it. It was just a little bit too tapered for my liking. Will I reach for it again? Maybe if it's the only one that's clean, but probably not. This other little angled fluffy brush, I can see myself reaching for this again. I have one brush that's like this that I like for certain things, especially for packing shadow on the outside of my eye. I don't mind it for that. Also, it's pretty good for blending again. If it's the only brush that I have that's clean, I will probably reach for it again, otherwise no. These two packing brushes probably won't reach for again because they're too thick. Like, I don't like packing brushes that are this thick, and they're just a little bit too big surface area wise because I just have really small eyes, so I don't think I will reach for those again. Overall, was it worth $9? I mean, it's tough for it not to be worth $9 if you can find a way to make it work, and I feel like I found a way to make it work. So am I happy I have them? You know, they're not the greatest brushes, but I might reach for some of them again at some point. So yeah, that was it for today's video. Let me know if you like videos like this, if you have any other suggestions of cheap things you want to see me try out. I'm very open to trying new, makeup tools or really anything that has to do with makeup. I just think it's fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, give me a like, and if you're new here, I hope you stick around, and maybe I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.